So call this meeting of the Fortville Redevelopment Commission to order. First thing is roll call.
Scott Meyer. Not here. Dan Hughey.
Present.
Chris McCright here. Ed Brand here. Mike Kelty. Not here.
Okay, we do have 3 of the 5 members here, so we do have a quorum. Next item of on the agenda is the Pledge of Allegiance. Please rise. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America. To the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, well, we have on the agenda oath of office for Mike Kelty, but I believe he is out of the country, so we won't do that this week.
Correct. Yeah, we just have a few minor tweaks to the agenda. That item 4 that you're referring to, correct. We would like to add a presentation by Placer AI. If you recall, we spoke of them at the last meeting, and they're looking to provide a website with data that we can use to choose sites for various businesses.
Okay.
So we'd like to put that on there. And then really just a clarification on 7B that has to do with the facade repair request. It's not paying the facade repair grant. It's really an additional request that they're seeking.
Okay.
And then, let's see. Approval of invoices. There's an additional invoice that came in late, a small invoice, so we can go over that.
Okay. Where do you want to put Placer at the end after approval of invoices, or where do you want to do that, Adam?
Completely up to you.
I think I'd rather go ahead and do that after we've gotten through all the other business, if that's
Yeah.
okay. So I think the next item we have is consider approval of minutes of July 17 meeting. Any comments on the minutes? If not, motion to approve.
I make a motion to approve the minutes of our last meeting as written.
I'll second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Passes. Any old business? I don't think we have any. New business, RDC to approve a contract for professional services for Mike McEvers for a mural at 106 South Main Street. Adam?
All right. For this particular item, if you recall at previous meetings, we talked about the idea of having a mural on the side of 106 South Main. That building has been recently fully tuck pointed. So now that that's been completed, now we can move forward with doing a mural. So what this is here is this is just a uniform service agreement addendum, and it just has to do with professional services for Mike's services to come up with and design the murals. He's going to come up with 3 different options, and then we will have RDC weigh in, council weigh in, public weigh in. So this, to be clear, this agreement is just for professional services on the design of it. And even though we have the authority to sign off on this as staff, we wanted to make sure that the RDC is in agreement so that we're moving along at the same.
Yeah. So
same
I think what I'm hearing
speed.
from you, Adam, is this is a standard uniform service agreement the town uses for stuff like this.
That's correct. Yeah.
We will, there's no pricing in it right now because he's supposed to present us with 3 different options, and at a later date, we'll get
That's
the pricing
correct.
and other information.
And I believe the fee was, I think it was a $400 fee, $400.
Just for the 3 options he's going to give us.
Correct.
I think that takes care of my questions. This will not be, this is just the first go around and getting this signed off so he knows the do's and don'ts of doing this work for us. Is that fair?
Correct.
Now, Adam, doing this mural, does it have to pass other organizations' approval before it's funded?
To be honest, we'll have to come up with a game plan as to who should be on the reviewing. I think we'll maybe I was thinking about forming a committee. Maybe we'd have a few members from RDC, a few from council. So what we want to achieve is we want to have all the decision makers take a look at it, approve it, and then obviously have the public take a look at it and comment on it as need be.
So that'll be all done before it's presented to us.
Right.
Any other questions or comments for Adam on this one? Motion to approve?
I make a motion to approve the uniform service agreement addendum for 106 South Main Street.
I'll second that motion.
All in favor, say aye.
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 Item 7A passes. Item 7B is an RDC, a request to the RDC to consider paying for Façade Repair Grant request for Harmony Dentistry. I believe the representatives from B&B are here. Kind of like to go ahead and let you kind of walk through some of the things you've got in your request. And then I think, Adam, we may have some questions on the facade repair guidelines you've given us too, but please go ahead.
Sure.
Thank you, gentlemen. My name is Matthew Barton. I'm a representative from BB Realty Partners. Thank you for taking the time to hear us out today. I'd like to start off by kind of addressing, I think, kind of the big point of this ask, which is going to be the size of the request. I know it is more significant than what has come before you in the past. One thing I hope that you will keep in mind is the scale of the project that we undertook. Oftentimes people come here, they might own a storefront and they're looking for one particular project, like a new awning, a new mural, something of that nature. This project that we undertook encompassed 4 separate buildings, 3 of which were in complete disrepair at one of the busiest intersections in town. This also covers the span of all the reimbursable sections of the facade repair program, structural code, accessibility, facade and parking lot repairs. And after we have completed all of this, we now have a medical plaza in the heart of Fortville. And it now has 42 instead of 12 parking spots. I know whenever a request of this size comes before you, which is in the sum of $365,717.90, the big question is going to be, well, what kind of a return on investment is the RDC going to get out of this? Obviously, your main source of funding is from the TIF district and the property tax increases. If we look at the 4 properties, the only usable property was surrounded on all sides by buildings that were essentially collapsing, which is obviously going to have a huge detrimental effect on the property taxes. One of the buildings was a church, which historically does not pay much in property taxes. One of the buildings was abandoned, and one of the buildings was zoned residential. We have now completely renovated all of those properties. We have rezoned the property that was residential to commercial. So now the property tax cap is at 3% instead of 1%. On top of that, I'm going to make an assumption that business personal property taxes are paid to the RDC through the TIF district. Is that a fair assumption? Okay, I was assuming
That's a
most of
question
them.
for Adam or Joe.
Yes, that is the
Okay.
case.
We now have 10 tenants. Most of them are medical facilities, which will be paying a significant amount in business personal property taxes now. For reference point, in Westfield, our dental office is less than a third of the size of what we have the potential here for at our new office. Last year, we paid $13,000 in business personal property taxes. So when you look at it from both the property tax and the BPP standpoint, we're looking at well over $100,000 a year that we paid directly into the RDC's coffers from this project. So I hope that puts a little bit of scale behind what we're looking at. I also think it's important to look at what kind of a precedence this will set for further developers. You know, I know there's always the worry, well, now is everybody going to come looking for a lot of money? And I would say I think that's a good thing. This is the kind of development that the redevelopment committee should be looking into funding. I think it's great, you know, when you work on, external facade repairs and things of that nature. But in a town where a lot of the buildings along Broadway and Main are 100+ years old, and a stated goal of the town council and the RDC is preservation of those historic structures, there are going to be significant structural issues that start coming before you in the near future. I've been in a lot of those buildings, so I can tell you right now that this is just going to be an issue that will scare away other developers. And if they know that they have the support of the RDC when something of this nature comes before them, they're going to be a lot more likely to take a risk on that versus if the money is only being spent on external repairs. It's kind of like putting lipstick on a pig, that's not really doing a whole lot. You can pay for a new mural to be painted on a wall, but if that wall is going to collapse in 5 years, well, that's not a really sound investment in my eyes. Finally, I know that the timing of the request coming before you retroactively could be somewhat of a concern for some members. I have a couple of points to address on that. One is the program guidelines don't state that this has to be asked beforehand. There's nothing about, the timing of the ask. It just simply asks that you have a start and an end date. We did go in front of the RDC in May, and after that meeting, we did ask if this would be acceptable to bring before you after the fact, and it was told that you would at least hear us out on the merits of our case. The original facade improvement guidelines that I was looking at a year ago when we were starting this project did not specify parking lot repairs. That line item was not included. It was only when my partner and I became more involved in the town, attending business owner meetings, attending government functions such as this, that we became aware of the full scope of the project. So that's why we've asked you to reconsider some of those costs after the fact. And I think the biggest ask here is for the structural repairs. And we were unable to come before you at that time, before that, because the building was in imminent risk of collapse. When we spoke with our structural engineer, he told us that he thinks it was by the grace of God that the building was still standing. It was in that kind of shape. So we felt that it would be irresponsible to wait months to get approval for possibly being reimbursed for these costs when this was obviously something that was a public health safety issue. If that building would have collapsed, it would have affected all 7 of the tenants in the adjacent building. And frankly, it would have been a PR nightmare for Fortville. You don't want people driving down Broadway and seeing collapsed buildings. So I do hope that there can be some leeway in the guidelines when it comes to matters of public safety, health, and preservation of the historic structures. When you have an emergent situation like we had, where this building could have collapsed at any time, speed and expertise are going to be much more valuable than a price comparison at that point, which is why we are unable to provide you with 3 bids for that work. I would be happy to walk through the extent of the structural repairs that we did or any other components of the project, or just open the floor up for additional questions that you may have.
No, I appreciate you walking us through all that. I drive by the facility a couple times a week. It looks great.
Thank you.
I'll probably end up finding a new dentist over there pretty quick.
Would be happy to have you.
And we're happy to see the work you've done. I do know we also, obviously approved almost 97,000 of facade repairs, if I remember right. Between the
So,
two, if I remember right.
so Actually, the numbers on the financials are a little bit off. The total that was approved, from the financials that I gave, there's a line item missing. We have paid out $68,166 for the facade, for the siding and the roof of 406. There
Yep.
was an 11,023
Okay.
line item for
Great.
401, and then there has been $29,670 pledged for 411.
So all that totals up to,
That totals up to $108,859.
you know, just do half of that.
That was your half that you paid. Yes,
Sorry, 100.
yes, sir, you have. Yes, you have.
I just wanted to make sure we had our numbers right.
Yes.
And I do appreciate the fact that you had to make some tough decisions here. I too, while you're talking about a precedent on the developer side and what we're going to do, I guess I am somewhat concerned about the precedent sets going forward with dollars this big, knowing the facade, what the facade program was designed for and what we've used it for in the past. I've got a little concern, like actually a fair amount of concern of a number of this size of almost over $365,000. I don't know. That's where I'm at right now. Ed, if you've got any comments, or Chris, I'd like to hear it from you guys.
Well, first of all, I want to appreciate you for coming to Fortville. You've
Thank you.
been good to work with. You've done an excellent job up there. And we appreciate it, the board and the town.
Thank you.
Personally, I think that we, as the RDC, have committed enough money for your project, even though that you found things that you didn't know that had to be fixed, which I realize that happens, but that's part of construction.
Yes.
So my point of view is it's a no for me.
Okay.
Chris, anything else you want to add?
Yeah, I do have, and I'll piggyback off what Ed said. I appreciate what you've done thus far in the town of Fortville, and hope you continue to bring business our way. But on your spreadsheet that you presented, the very colorful one, you know, and I think you talked about this, Matt. Many of those repairs were internal, inside the interior, inside the building.
Correct.
And I don't believe that was the point of the facade program, because what will we open up to all kinds of things in the future if we agree to pay for things, you know, inside the building, structural repairs, et cetera. The other thing I wanted to bring up was the parking lot. In my mind, because I pass by there every day and I saw the work being done, in my mind, it was more of construction of a new parking lot as opposed to parking lot repairs. You know, it was a full-fledged construction of a new parking lot where there was, you know, most of that was non-existent.
Yeah,
And-
we doubled the size.
Correct. So again, I think that's stretching the facade program and what it's designed to be a little bit, in my opinion.
The guidelines do specifically state accessibility issues, code, and structural repairs. So that is where I was getting that information from.
So if you look at the structural repairs and then again, the parking lot, and you add up those two line items, that makes up over $600,000 of the 700,000 plus that you've spent.
Yes.
And I think that's where I'm having a hard time with, again, the purpose of our facade program here. And I think we're stretching the limits of it, in my opinion.
I think so too. Because then we think, Adam, if I'm right, do we normally deposit like $50,000 in the facade repair account?
Correct.
And then for this particular one, we went ahead and made a special motion to put more in, given this was probably the largest facade payout I think we've ever done as a town too.
I believe so.
Okay, thank you.
I did split it up just in case you wanted to look at each specific item on its merits. I think items such as the windows, which could have been included in the original facade improvement. But it wasn't until we learned more information again about the guidelines. That's why those were not in there originally. Same with the landscaping. We had been told after the fact that that could be a reimbursable expense. So if you would consider maybe each line item individually, that would be appreciated as well.
I tend to agree with Ed. I think
Okay.
we've done a lot here, and I'm not sure we should be, advancing any more forward at this time. I don't know. Ed, is there anything else you want to add, or we want to?
No, I'm basically, no.
I think that's where I'm at also. So I don't know.
Okay, I'll make a motion that we, refuse the grant money for, B&B Realty Partners for, 365,000.
71790. 71790.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Whatever.
Yeah.
You said it.
Yeah. All right. So that was the request.
That was a motion.
That was a motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Thank you, gentlemen. We do look forward to
you.
continuing
No,
to
we
partner
we
with
we
you.
appreciate you walking us through all this, and we appreciate you can hope.
Sorry about your luck.
absolutely.
but
Where we're coming from also.
We'd still love to show you around the building sometime.
No,
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
There was another component to your request about landscaping on Broadway and Main. Did you?
That's a completely separate item. I was gonna wait until the public comments. I can address it right now if you would like, but that, I'm not here as representative of BB for that particular line item. I'm
Yeah.
here as a representative of the Fortville business owners.
Let's wait for that for public comment.
Sounds good.
Yeah, thank you.
All right.
Okay, yep. Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you very much. Appreciate
Thanks,
it.
Matt.
And appreciate your forthcomingness on all this. All right, the next piece of new business is 7C, RDC to review and consider approving a letter of intent for a parking lot lease at 135 East Broadway for Carve Market. Adam?
Yes. All right. So for this particular project and request, this is the building that we're talking about is 135 East Broadway. It's where Urban Forest Designs was located. And I think you should be familiar with the business Carve Market. I believe a few months ago, they came in, did a presentation about their business, what they're looking to accomplish. The representative from the business is here from Fort Wayne. And so if you'll also recall, the owner had contemplated having a Dollar Tree take over the space. And so it has been really a priority of the council, of the RDC, of staff, to try to have a good quality grocery store or a business that sells reasonable amount of groceries in town. And for this particular project, there continues to be opportunities for parking in town, for a need that we have in town. So in speaking with Alex and speaking with the property owner's rep and speaking with Carve, this letter of intent that you see before you puts together the framework of an agreement by which we can get this project to happen. So simply put, the owner, Randy, was looking for about $20 a square foot with the Dollar Tree project. And so what ends up happening with this arrangement is he gets his $20 per square foot. Now it's only for the 5,000 square feet. It's not the entire building, but it's the 5,000 square feet. And the way that we get to that number is Carve ends up getting a reduced rate of $12 per square foot. And then the town would pitch in $8 a square foot. So it's 12 and 8. And we would basically be leasing the parking. Most importantly, the owner would be responsible to improve that back lot and to put the parking in. We would not be paying for that. What the proposal here is RDC would be leasing that parking for public use and of course for Carve customers as well. And it would be over a 5-year period of time. And it would be at $8 a square foot, that would equate to $40,000 per year over a 5-year period. So the arrangement that's being presented to you tonight for your consideration would, in our mind, is a way of all parties benefit. The town benefits, the owner benefits, and and Carve Market benefits. So with that, if you have any questions, I'd be happy to address them. Again, we have both the real estate agent and the tenant is here as well.
Can RDC money be spent for rent?
Yeah, so what we're actually doing is we are not renting space. We are leasing the parking.
Okay, can it be used for leasing property?
Yes, yes, it can. And the other clause that is written in here is that if in the hopefully unlikely event, but if in the event that Carve were to terminate the lease early, then Fortville as a safeguard has the option to terminate our portion as well, or we could continue it if there's still a need for parking beyond that.
And Adam, I don't know if you said it or not, but there is kind of like almost like a garage back there. Now that'd have to be.
That would be torn down. And then the only item in the document that you see itself that is slightly different, it says Town of Fortville's work. You can scratch that out. That would not be, in terms of it says separately meter utilities, separate HVAC, tenant. Yeah, and there may be other elements because we're still waiting to hear back from the actual owner who's overseas at the moment. Did you want to, yeah.
Yeah, let's wait till you get to the microphone and introduce yourself, please. Thank you.
So with that item, Adam, I do have to talk to Randy about that.
Could you
Oh,
introduce
sorry.
yourself? Thanks.
I am Crystal Kennard. Thank you. With that one item, the owner had an intent to lease the entire building, right? So with Carve coming in, hi, by the way. This item is very touchy with the owner, only because he has spent a lot of money to renovate the building, new electrical, HVAC and whatnot. So that is one item that I would say is still open for the owner. Because I do believe, where'd he go? Jeff. Hi. So when we talked, that was one item that we believed would be a tenant work item. Is that correct?
Well, we've had,
This is Jeff.
and I'm Jeff Kaiser with Carve Market.
Thank you.
Yes, we've had several discussions back and forth, and as far as what Randy was going to pay for, what I was going to pay for. And when Crystal says there's a lot to work out, we've had just numerous conversations, and I'm comfortable thinking we can, work it out, get to the end. It's just, it could look slightly different. So,
Likely different in what aspect? Us paying for it?
oh, sure. No, no, it's, in terms of like, when Randy and I first started negotiations, he wanted to have zero money out of pocket
Right.
and for a reduced rate. And quite honestly, his $20 a square foot never really worked for our format. And with Adam's work, we've tried to find this creative solution to get to the end. So now we just got a few of those pieces of the puzzle to put together, whether the town separates the utilities for Randy, or whether Randy and I have to come to another agreement, or just where they step up or who steps up, not where they step up, but just to get the deal done. And I will say, in terms of Carve, if you didn't remember from the last time that I spoke, it's probably a $1.2 to $1.4 million investment for us. After 5 years, we're not really willing to walk away from that. So some of the termination clauses and things like that, I mean, we plan to be here for, and on my side, my only way this does not work is if I can't negotiate year 6 with Randy. So, yeah, I mean, providing we get to where we want to, years 1 through 5. on
And I
our
do
standpoint.
think that the owner is very, very workable. I'm also speaking with another user for the other half, which would be like duck pin bowling, if you will, for the community. We are at LOI with that as well, which I did not talk to you about today. That just came about today. But they have a very, very high interest in that. So I think that a complementary use for you, and whether you do expand, your use to coffee or cocktails or whatnot, as we talked about before, I do think that we can work this out. But the cost of separating utilities and separately metering is going to come into effect. And with the owner already paying, I know what he paid. You can look it up. But he did, I know, but he does have an investment in the property. So if he could have some assistance and separately metering the utilities or whatnot for Jeff, that would be helpful as well. And that's all we're asking for.
So that's currently not reflected in this LOI, is that correct?
Correct. It's subject to, yeah.
What my advice would be, that it's obviously important for this board to have certainty as to how much they're going to spend
Yes.
on a project. And I think if we were to, I think that's too much latitude to work that out. What I would suggest is that if you're inclined, is you approve the LOI the way it is tonight, scratch out Town of Fortville's work there, with the 40,000 over 5 years. And then that's the deal. However, if they need to come back to us at a following meeting to consider with some hard numbers on separate meter utilities, separate HVAC, whatever that may be, then you could consider that.
Yeah,
One other question that I do have too is on behalf of both, right? As we talk about this, if you're paying 40,000 for the parking lot for the owner for a 5-year term and it's public parking, thereafter that 5-year term, the owner has that expense of maintaining as well. So I'm going to have to go to my owner as well, right? And say, hey, after that 5-year term is up, if it's still public parking, he's maintaining all of that per year for public parking for his building for 2 tenants. So how do I go back to him and make it fair for him as well?
I guess I'm
It's a
Yeah,
question.
somewhat
You
confused.
don't have to answer it. So
Okay, I'm just-
no, what
I'm
I'm
not-
saying is, so if the town of Fortville pays 40,000 per year for that parking, right? For the 5-year term, for the initial term, and it's public parking. Correct. And our owner is taking care of it thereafter, and it's still public parking. What is his benefit for public parking after that 5-year term? If he's maintaining all of it, track,
Well,
snow, all of it.
So what
Yeah.
you're saying is after the 5 years, who's gonna maintain this parking lot?
Correct, because he's gonna ask me that. He's not here today, but he will ask me that question, and I need to answer that appropriately, what that looks like after that.
Hopefully, most of that parking lot will be for your facilities.
Correct.
Which will feed your tenants, which will keep them in the building.
Correct.
Right.
That's
But if
right.
it's
So,
public, then I still have to sell that to my owner as well.
well, if,
And this is.
I mean, simply put, if at the end of the 5-year period, this agreement would run out. So we'd either have to renew it or all parties would have to go in a different direction. So I would say, simply put, after the 5 years, we'll cross that bridge when we get to it. I mean, the terms of this agreement cover 5 years. So to me, that's a similar debate as if you were to say, well, we have a stadium lease and what's going to happen after the lease runs out. We'll cross that bridge when we get to it. But to be clear, under this arrangement, after 5 years, the lot would be a fully private lot. It would not be open for public use.
I didn't know that.
Yeah,
So after the 5 years, it would be private, not public.
correct.
Okay.
Unless we decide to renew it
Okay,
and you all want to,
thank you.
Who's maintaining it the first 5 years?
they are. The,
Carve? Oh, the
Yeah.
owner.
not
Okay.
the town.
Okay.
Right.
Hey, Alex, if you're there, I mean, we've obviously got the town of Fortville's work we're carving out of this for right now. Are you still comfortable with signing an LOI with that unknown out there? Or any recommendations from you from a pure legal standpoint? I'm just wanting to make sure it's appropriate for us to sign off on this tonight with that kind of hanging out there with the owner being out of the country.
Yeah, I'm fine with that. We just need to do what you're doing, which is discuss that is something that is not determined and
Okay.
should be resolved in the actual final agreement. And if we can't come to terms on that component, then, we walk.
Okay. That's what we pay you for key advice like that, Alex. Thank you.
So just to be clear, the town is not willing to separate the utilities and HVAC from the tenant.
That's fine.
That's what I would
That's
recommend.
what I heard.
So we don't know what those costs
Yeah,
are.
without knowing what it is. How can we communicate?
Okay, which is fair.
So-
So are we supposed to obtain a bid to present to you?
I think we probably need to see that, to see what the
Okay.
costs are. That would be
Okay.
the next right step. And
Just so
Patty,
we
the
know.
question for you, is it one bid or is, I mean, my guess is we have,
Well,
we asked for 3 bids on other stuff, so I don't know.
I would say start with one bid to see the order of magnitude would be my advice.
Fine.
But yeah, for that, I think, my advice would be that the 40,000 per year, is a generous, and fair number. So not to say that going over can't be considered. You always have the option to consider that.
Right.
I think we need to, keep it simple.
Yeah. You got to get an idea how much it is, and then we can try to address that at a later date.
So let me clarify this now. The separation of the HVAC and the utilities and everything. You're wanting him and you to split the utilities now. And if you don't, and if he don't, you want us to?
So right now, correct. So right now, everything is under one roof. So we're gonna have to separate it for 2 tenants.
Right.
And there is a cost with that. And so, yes, the owner was asking, as we talked about previously, that the tenant would take that on. Now, the tenant, we have 2 tenants. We have Fortville and we have Jeff.
And Duncan.
And now, yeah.
Um,
So, with that said, the owner was under the impression that the tenant would take that on.
And I guess I'm confused. We're renting, we're paying rental on the parking lot.
Well, there's 2 tenants here, so yes,
I
so,
don't think we should be part. And I don't think I consider us being one of the people that are using the HVAC or the electric. It's just the parking lot. So.
I would say if the building is vacant, the other half, the owner would withstand them expenses. And if it's occupied, the person that occupied it would withstand them expenses.
Yeah, I think where she's going at is there's a cost splitting those off between the 2 parts of the building.
because the owner did not want to initially,
It's a few times on other
Yes.
things.
and the owner did not want to demise, and we had a 1 tenant to occupy the space and to demise the space for Carve.
You're talking about the contractor splitting, not the cost each month. No, I'm not in favor of the town paying for that.
You know, I wonder if a simpler way to look at this is a deal with Carve and a deal with the owner of the building. Because we're kind of getting things all convoluted,
Yes.
mixed together to where I'm kind of here for Carve.
Right.
You know, and how do I get functional, you know, as quickly as possible?
I'd like to say you have it all.
He's already said he only needs to.
Yeah, yeah, I thought about that, yeah. So, but it wasn't from a lack of Crystal trying to get me to
Yeah.
take it all.
Okay.
Tell me
But-
about coffee and all that.
Yeah, you're right. But I think for us, we was biting off about as much as we could
Yeah.
chew with 5,000 square feet to assure that we would be here long-term.
Correct.
Right.
And for us, you know, it is getting a little confusing on building owner and building operator.
Yeah.
So, for me, I can see it one way of how do I get there? And that's a selfish approach for me to take. But, so I don't know if you look at this from a Randy standpoint, who's the building owner, and then a Carve Market, you
Right.
know, but somehow they still end up and do tie together because Randy ultimately controls
And
whether
it's
I
the
end up
building.
there.
Correct.
So,
I guess I'm a little disappointed we didn't have this deal point worked out, and I realized there were some logistical issues there.
It's, But I
That's why I just think that's adding to the confusion. I appreciate.
think initial conversation that it was going to be tenant, but now that we are splitting it in a way and we have this deal, everything's negotiable, as you know. I see your face.
I've
So,
done
no,
plenty
it is.
negotiations in my, more,
So I think that if it's a hard no, then I have to tell the owner it's a hard no.
well, you've heard a hard no from Ed for sure.
Yeah, I'm with Dan. I think we just stick with the parking lot and leave the confusion of the utilities out of it.
That's something I think the owner's got to work out with the two tenants would be my guess.
Okay.
Is that okay for you, Mr. Carve?
yeah,
I forgot your name, so I'm going to call you.
yeah,
Mr.
yeah, I'm Jeff,
Thank
but yeah, I guess that's something him and I have to fight out.
Yeah,
And we
and-
just have to figure out if it works for both of us.
Does that work for you, Adam?
Keep it simple.
Stupid thing.
All right, so I think what I'm needing is a motion to approve this LOI without the town of Fortville's work included in this LOI. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. I'll make a motion on the letter of intent from Tarp Realtor on everything that is written, except everything in there that's under the town of Fortville work.
I'll second.
All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes. Thank you so much. Appreciate the conversation.
Thank you, guys.
Look forward to continue to work with you. Jeff, thank you. Looks like the next agenda item, Adam, is the review of financials. I think you said there was a late ad, is that right?
Yes. Well, the financials, no changes
Okay.
there.
So that looks like the only financials we have then are what, those payments from July 3rd to 8/05, is that correct?
Correct.
All right.
I make a motion to approve the financials with the additions the president just said.
I'll second.
Okay, got a second? All in favor, say aye.
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 Aye, motion passes. Okay, next item is approval of invoices.
And this was the one where, in addition to the Bose McKinney invoice, we had invoice from CW Waste Services. And this, I believe, will be the final invoice for
Oh.
the demolition cleanup.
Looks good over there.
Yeah, it does. I was gonna say that too.
Yeah, at 611, 624 Broadway and High.
And Joe, I can't remember, what was our original estimate on what we're gonna take to haul that stuff away. Did we have one or? Okay, and yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, it's a little, this is probably about 33,000 total,
Yeah,
that
The
neighborhood.
way it looks right now, it's worth that extra $3,000 to see it all
Yeah.
cleaned up now. Chris, you know what a site looks like. It looks a lot better when all that stuff is carried.
Absolutely.
So I'm looking for a motion to approve these two invoices.
I'll make a motion to approve, CW Waste Management and Bose McKinley invoices.
I'll second.
All those in favor say aye.
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 Motion passes. Next item is public comment. Any public comment, feel free to step up to the microphone and introduce yourself.
Wasn't AI gonna do something?
Oh, I think I'd rather get through the public comments before we have AI. I'd like them to be the
Okay.
last.
Okay.
Thank you.
Hello again, gentlemen. Matthew Barton today. I am representing the Fortville business owners. At the last business owners meeting, it was brought up that the business owners might be interested in working with the RDC on landscaping along Broadway, Main, and in Landmark Park. So I'm just here to ask if we came to you with a couple of bids from civil engineering firms on what that would cost to put something together, would you be interested in entertaining that option? Dave and myself would be more than happy pro bono to oversee everything. And then we are simply going to go to all of you every step of the way to get approval and do things the way you want. So we would be asking you to front the cost, but Dave and myself would be, at your disposal to get everything done in a way that makes everyone in the town happy.
Okay, what is this going to? Broadway's been done. What else is there to do on Broadway?
I think that they are maybe just looking for improvements to the landscaping that's been done, more greenery, things of that nature. You drive by the sign in town, there's probably not a whole lot around it, things like that. I think they were hoping for something a little bit more magnanimous when they drive through town, something that makes a little bit more of a statement for Fortville than what we currently have.
So Broadway and Main's been done and you're wanting to improve it.
Correct. Yes, sir.
And what,
And then I thought you also said landmark.
yeah,
Landmark Park as well. Yes. Yeah. Those were kind of the three main areas that were brought up that were of most interest to the business owners. Obviously, if there was an addition or a subtraction that you guys would maybe be interested in, we're here to do kind of whatever is needed. Dave and myself just wanted you all to know that we'd be more than happy to oversee that kind of a project, get you bids, things like that, if there was a possible interest. We just didn't want to waste everyone's time if there's no interest in getting all those things
Now,
together beforehand.
What are you talking about landmark? The roads or the park?
All the above.
Okay. I have a problem with the landmark. Well, Stalmar Ditch is a county-owned easement.
Okay.
If I don't quote me, but I think there was 25 easement from the water and 50 floodplain.
Okay.
And in order to do any work on that, you have to go through the county and appease them what you do. And the only way that I will approve any improvements at Landmark Park is if Stalmar Ditch gets cleaned up between Merrill and School Street, both sides. And how that gets done, that's up to the developer, the engineer, or whoever. And I know the county's not gonna do it. County takes care of dams and keeps water flowing. And as far as the business organization, that little ditch is an economic tool for the business owners because that is your riverfront district. So it is an investment for the business owners. And as a health hazard, I'd like to see that cleaned up and maintained at least 3 times a year.
We'd be happy to look into that and see if we get an option that would be
Thank you.
appease everyone. I think
And I
that'd be-
know it'll be a
yeah.
difficult situation, working with the county. And they're probably, they don't have any money. So,
Right, and what I'm hearing, is to make sure I'm hearing it right, is we have the request of you all that for landscaping along Broadway, Main Street, and for Landmark.
Yes, sir.
And then Ed also wants this ditch looked at. So would you be able to bring us some quotes on
Yes.
what it would take? Then I think,
Correct.
once we know what that is.
And
think
if
we can
I
make a better
understand from
decision. So,
people talking, they're gonna put a new bridge there.
Okay.
So whoever did that had to get permission from the county.
They're saying it's possible.
Huh?
So you're saying it's possible, Ed.
Yeah.
That's all I gotta hear.
I know,
Chris,
I
what-
know, but that's always
Your
been a
thoughts?
sore spot with me.
Okay.
With the kids and, during the summer months, it's, growing up and it's infested with, whatever. And it just needs to be, if that's gonna be our showpiece, let's make that part of the showpiece.
Yeah, we would be happy to be intermediaries to try and get something that benefits everyone.
Okay, thank you.
Chris, any thoughts?
Yeah,
from you?
I'm all for it.
Okay.
I have a passion for nicely landscaped areas. When you said civil engineer, are you referring to a landscape architect? of
Yeah,
Some sort?
we'll
I
approach
don't-
a couple of professionals and
Okay,
just get an idea what's possible.
sounds a little less expensive than an engineer.
Yeah, I forgot about that part, going to Purdue where they have, it's a school of landscape.
Yeah.
architects. That's exactly where I was going
I don't
to.
think we'll need a civil engineer for some of these projects, but could you also add potentially the entry tennis court area of Memorial Park?
Yeah, that's fine by me.
I know it wasn't on your original list, but
Wasn't on the
yeah,
original list, but like I said, we're just here to kind of beautify as many of the areas of the
Yeah.
town as we possibly could.
And I'm an accountant and numbers guy by trade, so it really helps me to have the numbers that way I can make a better informed decision. So that's
Absolutely.
helpful.
I just didn't want to go through the,
Yeah, you don't want to go through all the exercises.
through all the exercise. If you guys said, no, we have no interest in even being open to that option.
I think
So,
there's a level of interest. We just got to
Okay.
see what the numbers look like.
Absolutely.
Is that a fair reflection, guys?
yeah, absolutely.
Ed?
You have my support.
All right,
Okay.
there you go.
Thank you, gentlemen. You'll see me again.
Appreciate it.
Thanks, Matt.
Any other public comment? Hey there. Good, thank you.
Sorry, I only have 2 of these.
Okay.
My name is Sharon Beatson and I live in Fortville and on Poplar Street. And I live behind that building that you're looking at right now. And I think it could be a real asset to be able to control what comes into that building. It's been a lot of things over the years. But I think it could be something really, really nice. And I think that's a piece of property that the RDC and the town should own so that we can control what is coming on our Broadway, what kind of businesses are coming. And I would love to suggest that you purchase that old donut shop. Not in any particular, I just wanted to bring that to your attention so that you would consider,
Sure.
because that's a piece of property that's on Broadway that everyone sees when they come into town. And we're working on our appearance and making Broadway beautiful. So I would suggest that we
Yes.
purchase it and so that you can control what comes into it. Thank you.
So as we're looking at this listing on the postcard,
Well, you can have that one.
oh no, that's good. I'm looking at my phone, so all three of us can have.
What is it listed for?
Okay.
I don't see a price.
So the building that's got the painting on it, it's for sale.
The whole, is it the whole thing, the
Yeah,
whole
thing
thing,
is for
not
sale.
just the garage,
It's a whole
the
thing.
whole thing.
Oh, the whole
Yeah.
thing.
Yeah.
It's a very small building.
You're wanting that to become,
What?
You'd like us to purchase it and be able to control.
Love you to purchase it. So that you can control what comes in there.
you're saying you'd like us to purchase this whole building. so we
Absolutely.
can control it.
Absolutely. So that you have some control of what's going to come in there. Okay?
I've always thought a bicycle shop or an outdoor outfitters,
Yeah.
little
I
small,
think that sounds wonderful.
close to Geist.
Absolutely.
Any-
But
Adam, from your perspective, could you reach out to the realtor and find out what the cost is?
W-
'Cause I don't see it anywhere.
So I personally looked into this building a few years ago before that baseball training company purchased it. And I know this was an old fuel station, right? Or there's some
Oh, okay.
environmental
It's
concerns.
225.
Yeah, my
With
bad.
that
I didn't see
building.
it. Small. Yeah, it's
Have they?
in very small print compared to everything else.
Because that's opposite of what I understood from the realtor we were working with, and
thing that had to be done. was-
right, it's very, very costly.
Well,
I don't think even with the-
a couple things along that point is we still do have money from the EPA for brownfields assessment. So frankly, whether the town purchased it or as a private purchase, I think that would be a wise expenditure of the grant money at this point to investigate that, so. It does. In fact, it ends at the end of September of this year. However, I'm glad you mentioned that. We have requested a 1-year extension because we still do have some funds available, so.
Block out experience I have with our environmental programs in the state of Indiana. Those funds are limited.
Yeah, and we have submitted our letter to EPA formally requesting an additional 1 year on it. So it's in process.
Need to introduce yourself again. It's all right.
Crystal again. So with the grant money, because we have 414 Garden, right? Does that still apply to that as well? Okay. So you're saying it ends September, but you would have to extend that. And the reason why I'm asking is we do have a very rich price tag, as you guys know, on that
Right.
property, but we are working through it. And the only way that I think that we're going to get that done is if there's contribution with that. So if you're saying we have a year,
Well, for that particular property, really quickly, is the grant already paid for the phase 1.
correct?
It paid for phase 2.
I know.
And then,
There's
and then the only other thing that the grant could pay for on that is potential removal, either further study pursuant to the phase 2 and or removal of a vault that's there. So I believe that's already in progress.
correct.
So
Can you speak of, can I ask a question, like off the cuff? What is going on with the BP?
well, hopefully there's light at the end of the tunnel. The latest is that there's a new contractor that's working on the project that was hired by the owner. And they are working on completing the stormwater system, completing the driveway, the much awaited driveway. And so we've heard that they could be ready to open at some point in September.
Okay.
But I'm not holding my breath because I feel like every time we say that, there's a delay on their end. So we're cautiously optimistic.
Okay. Have you heard from the Dairy Queen owner that has bought that? Are they going to open?
I have not.
Okay,
Mm-mm.
that's all I have.
I agree with you, Adam, on the BP station. They've given us a date, but until I see a ribbon cutting,
Is there going to be a off of Broadway too? No.
you're talking to the wrong guy. I have no
Okay.
idea.
The gas station
Uh-huh.
to the BP?
Yeah.
Yes,
Perfect.
that's
That's what
one of the big
I figured.
holdups.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank
Yep.
All right. Well, we've run through public comment. I think if we have our AI friend on, wants to give us a walkthrough, I apologize for keeping you on so long.
We did have under staff comment. Do you want to come back to that afterwards? or-
Yeah. I
Okay,
think we've had
that's
this for a long time.
Sure thing.
Presentation.
We'll have, I wanted to kick something over to Joe to talk about briefly after AI.
Thank you.
Perfect.
All right.
Is everyone hearing me?
We need to crank you up a little bit.
Can you crank me up? Okay. Let me know.
Much better.
Let me know once we hear me loud and clear.
Ed's saying yes, so you're good.
All right, perfect. Well, thanks for having me, RDC members. My name is Nick Perebski. I'm here with a company called Placer.ai. And yeah, I'm going to do a brief presentation, going to share a little bit of background on sort of the basics about who we are, what we do, who we work with. I'll give you guys just a little bit of a sneak peek in terms of the sort of data that we provide and what it looks like locally. And then we can save a couple minutes if there's any sort of initial questions that come up. Happy to answer anything as well in our limited time. Certainly happy to follow up also if there's any questions that arise after the fact. We can also answer them after. I've already had a couple of meetings with some folks from the town. I've met with Adam. I met with Tanya. I met with Heath over in Parks as well. But hoping to get just at least a brief intro to you folks and show you a little bit about what it is that we do here. So actually, Adam, I think I need you to allow screen sharing if you want to enter those permissions. I'll send the request here. Okay, perfect.
Where are you located?
So we're actually a nationwide company. We work with municipalities across the entire U.S. I'm personally based in New York, but we work in geographic territory. So I'm the one that works with our prospective customers in a portion of Indiana and a western portion of Ohio. So Eastern Indiana, Western Ohio is the region I work with. So certainly work with some neighboring municipalities and civic organizations nearby. I'll name a couple in just a little bit in terms of who we're currently working with. We work with many.
That's fine. I just want to know where you
Yeah.
was located.
Absolutely. Yep. I'm from the Northeast.
Thank you.
Absolutely. So, and everyone's seeing my screen here where it says Civic Solutions.
Yes.
Okay, perfect. So just as a bit of background on Placer and what it is we do. Placer is a location analytics company which leverages mobile location data to provide market intelligence on any physical place in the US. That's done by harnessing data from millions of mobile devices, and that data is then anonymously aggregated to learn about any place. This could be any retailer, shopping center, park, neighborhood, district. It can be an entire city, a county. It can even be a specific road segment as well. So not only can we show you insights like the number of people that visited that place, but also show you things like those visitors' general home and work locations, where else they tend to eat, shop, and visit, demographic profiles, and much more as well. So in almost 6 years in the market now, we've become the leading data provider in this space with almost 5,000 clients overall, with over 1,600 of those being in the civic space. Initially, it started out with us reaching out and working with commercial real estate owners, operators, and brokers. But since then, we've expanded into everything like retailers, restaurant groups, financial services companies, manufacturers, and airports. Civic organizations, though, are our largest and our fastest growing segment. So you see on the bottom left of the screen here, a couple of the civic logos. Here are a whole bunch more across the entire US. But some of our nearby civic organizations that we work with like the Anderson-Madison County Visitors Bureau. We work with Noblesville Main Street. We work with the City of Carmel Clay, Hamilton County Tourism. We work with Visit Indy. We work with Festival Country, Indiana, Visit Greensburg, Indiana, Downtown Indy Incorporated as well. A whole bunch more throughout the state and the region also.
Okay.
I want to briefly touch into our privacy by design approach here at Placer. I think this is very important to mention whenever this sort of data is involved to sort of understand the fundamentals about how it works. So before we ever sold this data commercially, we actually spent the prior 3.5 years just building out and optimizing our privacy first panel. So we built this proprietary panel by directly partnering with dozens of mobile apps, many of which are exclusive partners of Placer. And that gives us a panel of approximately 30 million US mobile devices, representing about 8% of the total United States population, which is highly statistically significant for reliable insights. So while competitors of ours typically rely on data from third-party data panels and data brokers, we own our data collection process. And that means when there's new privacy laws introduced or when Apple or Google roll out privacy updates for mobile devices, competitors of ours see their data quality drop while we don't. Our privacy-first model was designed to withstand these types of changes, allowing us to deliver consistent, reliable data while others struggle with gaps and accuracy issues. So one last slide I'm going to show the group here before we jump into some examples of the data. But here are 9 notable ways our civic customers leverage Placer and Placer data. So just to sum up a little bit about what was already discussed with folks from the town, we chatted a little bit initially about parks and recreation. So everything about understanding how many visits are coming into individual parks in the town, understanding which communities are actually the ones that are visiting that town, being able to turn around and leverage that data for things like applying for grants, being able to showcase what kinds of demographic segments and what types of visitors is a certain park or open space serving. We also chatted a little bit about potentially bringing in, leveraging this data to bring in new businesses into the community. So understanding which retailers or businesses may be the best fit for a specific site and having a bunch of data to back those decisions, understanding things like residential leakage. So understanding where residents of the town are leaving city limits to go shop and visit elsewhere, understanding what our workforce looks like. Sort of a wide range of initiatives that this data could be applied to from previous conversations, but I think almost pretty much everything on this screen could be applied to the town in one way or another. And let's go ahead and jump into some local data here. So I am going to get out of this deck. Here is Placer's homepage. So once you log into the platform, I do want to mention it is a web-based platform. It works on a login basis. Essentially, any and every employee of the town would be able to have their own access, would be able to pull up this screen just like I am here. On the Explore tab, which I'm on right now, you have the ability to type in any location, any address nationwide. So no geographic limitations whatsoever. We could dive into any individual, park, business district, neighborhood, or area of the town. So I already have, I'm just zoomed over the town here. I kind of already pre-clicked in and searched Fortville. What we see here as I hover over Fortville, we already have a handful of these individual locations already added into the platform. So we call these geo fences. Like you'll see Landmark Park, which I actually have pulled up in the next tab here. Our team has gone in and actually built out this boundary. Somebody has to enter that boundary and stay for some period of time to be counted in the data. Beyond just individual locations or properties, we also, I do want to mention, have the ability to study markets. So markets are going to be district-wide data or maybe town-wide data. So we want to understand things like where are residents of the town visiting in or out of the town, or if we want to understand visitation from folks coming from outside of the community, we can study the town limits of Fortville as a whole. We'll see this wonky kind of border, which are the town limits of Fortville. That we can also study. I do want to mention one last thing we can also study are traffic pins. So traffic pins are individual points dropped along roadways. If, for instance, we wanted to strategize how to better capture some of the traffic that's going along Broadway, we could drop a point along Broadway, understand people who are already using this road segment, where are they going to, where are they coming from, what kind of preferences do they have? We can strategize around that. So I already pre-selected, where is it here on this tab, Landmark Park, just to give you guys a really brief snapshot in terms of what our data actually looks like once you pull up a report. So the first thing I do want to mention, our data goes all the way back. It's 7 years of historical data. So we can dive into, I think it's April of 2018 is going to be the first month that we can dive into. We also have data as recent as 3 to 4 days old. So you'll notice this Sunday, August the 17th of 2025 is the most recent data. I can click into any time period in that last 7 years. And just a quick snapshot here. So metrics, this is our visit counts and visit frequencies over the last year to Landmark Park. So we can see things like our number of visitors, our total number of visits, and our visit frequency. On the top right-hand side, you'll see this number titled panel visits. That's the number of visits that actually came from that 30 million device panel that we work directly with. And then that figure is then extrapolated using a wide variety of data points to bring us to the rest of the numbers in this metrics section. I'll show you guys one or two last things on this property view. I don't want to take up too much time of the group here. So I'll briefly just show like something like trade area. So trade area is going to represent where or which communities is this park serving. So the first thing we see here is this heat map. We're mapping out the general neighborhoods or blocks that visitors to Landmark Park actually originated from. Anywhere where we see the red areas are going to be the areas we're getting our highest frequency of visitors coming from. We see a lot of that here. It's right here in town in Fortville. We can also break this out from a zip code perspective as well. So we see over the last year here, about 43% of our visits were from Fortville itself. And there's some other communities that we are also serving. We can have an understanding of what those communities are. We can also, because we have the ability to have that historical data piece for any individual location or event or whatever else we're studying, neighborhood or city, we can also study or compare to previous time periods. So if we want to have an understanding of how is a specific project that we're initiating having an impact on visitation, we can do a before and after analysis and see how things are shifting over the course of time. So I have one or two last things to show the group here. I know that in my conversations with Tanya, she thought it'd be really an important data point to show the group here our void analysis tool. So I already have this loaded up here. Essentially what this tool is it'll suggest best fit businesses for any individual site. So we can run this for like a district, like a plaza. In this case, I just randomly selected a location we already had on the platform, the CVS. So in this case, we're looking like, oh, if the CVS were to go vacant, what would be some good replacement businesses for it? So the first thing we do here is plug in a given square foot footprint of the business that we're looking to bring in. What is the size of the space? We have both regional and national chains. You see on the left-hand side of your screen here where my mouse cursor is. Those are going to be ones with a larger number of locations. We also have local and small businesses that operate within a 50-mile radius. On this list here, we'll see essentially all of the businesses the platform deemed to be a match for this site based on our filters. 1,500 total businesses in this case. You'll select this Schnucks grocery store. It gave it a very high fit score, so 100 out of 100. We can dive into a little bit more about why the platform deemed this to be a very high fit. So I'll briefly show you what this looks like here in this case. So really quick here, what the demographic fit score, the 78, what it's doing is it's comparing the existing visitors that go to the CVS location compared to the visitors that shop at the top performing Schnucks locations nationwide. We can also see, is there any cannibalization? So we'll be overlapping with any existing customer base of a Schnucks store that's already open. We can see what their typical square footprint is. We can see there's one frequent co-tenant also in here. So this is essentially going to be a handful of data points quantifying why this business is a good fit for this location. And essentially, not only is it suggesting which one is a good fit, but it's also giving you a bunch of data points when, if and when the city were to be having conversations with these businesses to be actually able to present these data points in a way that creates and tells a compelling story. So I have one more thing to show. This probably will take 2 to 3 minutes, but I do want to ask, just make sure that we're still okay with time. If not, I can cut it off right there as well.
No, I did have a question.
Yes, please.
If you could go back to, you looked at Schnucks.
Yes.
But you had a drop-down menu, some other entities. I wanted to take a look at those again.
Yeah, absolutely. So
I was
right
kind of curious. The first few that came up, the Schnucks and the Bentley's pets and stuff, and even the pizza, those make some level of sense.
Yep.
But Del Frisco's and Ocean Air are pretty high-end restaurants. Can you click on the Ocean Air and see what the stats are on the Ocean Air? Just see what it was on the Ocean Air.
Absolutely. So I do want to mention that I essentially didn't plug in any filters into here. I left this almost blank. So it's just going off of essentially all business categories for all square foot ranges. We can learn a little bit more about why it's deeming it. It gave it a pretty high fit score. So it gave it an 87 out of 100 for Ocean Air. So yeah, demographic fit in terms of the shoppers that go to Ocean Air seafood locations were 73 out of 100. So a pretty high demographic fit match, which is first and foremost the number one data point wanting to know, are the shoppers that go to our top performing locations also the shoppers that are visitors that are going to this existing site? In this case, the answer is a pretty strong yes. We see a pretty low cannibalization rate. We're right in the square foot range here, 10,000. That's essentially pretty similar to what this is, but obviously not a perfect match, being super
I guess
high.
I just wanted to make sure what you're saying is you didn't do any filtering. So if we
Yeah,
have a product, we could filter out an Ocean Air or a St. Elmo,
absolutely.
knowing that's probably not going to cater to the most of the citizens of the Fortville area. I wanted to make sure. So I saw that pop up and going, I need a little more info on that. So thank you.
Absolutely. So I think there's a couple of ways to look at this report. Obviously, you can sort of take it at face value and see what the platform suggests, but you can also just search up any individual business. If you already have one in mind, you can just run a report for an existing business. Something we can also do, I'm not going to get a chance to show you this during our brief time today, but we can also run a leakage study of residents. So in the market report, we can load up the city limits and understand what are the top individual locations that are drawing our residents outside of city limits. So let's say, I know in my conversations with Tanya, there's emphasis on a grocery store, bringing in a new one into town and filling a potential vacancy. We can first and foremost just plug in groceries into this category, into our subcategories here. And then we can also, in our leakage study, understand what are the grocery stores that are drawing Fortville residents outside of the town, and what are those actual grocery stores? What proportion of our residents are going to those grocery stores, and create a case. So the one last thing I'm going to show the group here before we jump is actually a deck on how we would take this sort of data and combine it to tell a compelling story. So this is an actual example of recruiting a grocery store, or putting together a compelling space, why a specific vacancy is a strong match for a grocery store. In this example, we already have that tenant in mind. So it's called Fresh Picks Market. And it's why it's a good fit for this Springs Plaza location. I do want to preface, this is a handful of data points that are compelling for this case, but every single different location sort of has a different story around it. Not every data point was sort of one-to-one going to be also compelling for the town of Fortville. This is in a much more populated area, so it's just going to have a different set of data points that could be valuable. So a couple slides here. So first and foremost, we're analyzing the shopping center itself. How does the visitation of that shopping center compare to others in a 15-mile radius, and also statewide? This one's in the state of New York. We can see overall this is a highly trafficked plaza. Right now, this is also this is a cannibalization map. What we're doing is mapping out the 3 closest existing locations of Fresh Picks Market. So that's represented in the yellow, the red, and the green. And what we're doing is we're overlaying it with where we're drawing visitors from to this plaza. And the question here that's being answered is, would we be potentially cannibalizing an existing customer base of a store that's already open? And we see it at a 2 out of the 3 of a very low cannibalization rate. The third, essentially no cannibalization. So overall, pretty minimal overlap in this case. Here we see some frequent co-tenants. So what are businesses that this grocery store chain is typically situated near, and look to these brands and logos for site validation purposes. Here we have some vehicle traffic data. So we actually have the module from a company called INRIX. They're the market leaders in vehicle-specific traffic data, volume data. And we see their modules built right in. We can see daily and hourly throughput, which we can add into this sort of presentation deck like this. Here we're running a sort of market analysis on how grocery stores perform in the area. So what we're doing is there's 11 grocery stores nearby, and for each of these 11, we can understand how do they perform within their respective chains. So I'll use this number one, the ShopRite, as an example. So at 800,000 visits in the trailing 6 months, that puts it at the 87th percentile for all ShopRite locations nationwide. We can see overall here, this is a strong market for grocery stores, with 8 out of the 11 being over the 50th percentile. So we can do sort of this market analysis on specific business segments as well. And this could be a powerful data point when trying to put together a compelling case like this. So a couple last things. We already saw a snapshot of this in the void analysis tool. The demographic fit score in this case is 92 out of 100. And you'll see at the bottom, it says demographic fit between Fresh Picks Market's top 25% locations and the Springs Plaza trade area. So we're actually comparing it not only to those existing Fresh Picks Market locations, but we're comparing the demographics of the shoppers just to the top performing locations, showing, hey, this is a strong match to your best performing stores. We can also build on that one level by understanding what are the types of shoppers that go to those top performing locations. So this is a segmentation data set called Mosaic by Experian. Essentially, it breaks up the population into different segments based on age, income, household type. And we see a lot of overlap in the shoppers that already go to the plaza compared to the ones that shop at those top performing locations. We have one last data point here before I wrap up the presentation. We can analyze what is the existing proportion of shoppers that have already been to the plaza in the last 6 months that have been to some Fresh Picks Market location nationwide. So this answers the question of, are shoppers at this plaza, do they already have any affinity towards this brand? Are they familiar with it? Is it going to be entirely new to them? We see in this case about 1 in 5 already go to some other Fresh Picks Market location. So you already have some amount of a built-in customer base in this plaza. So that's it for me. Hopefully you guys found the presentation insightful, interesting. I would love to answer any questions that may have come up during my brief presentation here. I really thank you all for your attention and giving me some time to present.
Ed?
Yes, a couple questions. One of them is, and I see Alex is in this picture there. How is legal liabilities affect this, Alex?
Go ahead, Alex.
Go ahead, Nick.
And the question was regarding the legal aspect of this. Is that right?
Yes.
Yeah, so I do want to mention the way that we source our data. It's through direct partnerships with mobile apps, and the data is stripped of all identifiers before it gets into our hands. So we do not have any idea about who that device belongs to. Essentially, all we're getting is aggregated data for mobile devices where we're getting essentially coordinates with associated timestamps. The town does not need to hold any information whatsoever. The data is all this sort of data is all held on the back end. We own the servers, so essentially all the town is getting is a login to this sort of data. There's no legal implications of having to store any sort of data or anything like that. We work with 1,700 municipalities and other types of civic organizations nationwide. If you have any further questions regarding the legal aspect of it, I could take it up to my team, but there should be no concerns regarding the legal aspects and legality of it.
Alex,
and
do you have any questions?
No, thanks, Nick. I mean, that's what I suspected was the case, and that this isn't providing anything that someone could point at the town and say, hey, you're misusing my personal information or misappropriate. That's all been done. If Nick were presenting something and Placer AI were just getting going and didn't have that litany of pretty major and publicly traded companies on there, I might be concerned, but I don't have any concerns.
Thank you, Alex.
Okay. Other questions from the group here? Happy to answer anything and everything. I know this is sort of a new type of data, and if any further questions come up and you think of anything, please feel free to pass it along to me. We're happy to answer anything that comes up or comes.
I do have a couple. Obviously, this is a ton of data that's going to be available to us. I would take it if we decide to become a client. Somebody on our staff is going to be given a pretty high level tutorial on how to navigate this and look at things and so forth, and there'll be ongoing support. You're not going to give us access to the database and say, have at it, correct?
Yeah, you nailed it. So every account is assigned what we call a customer success manager. So essentially, it's one of our staff members. They have a certain number of accounts they work with. We have a customer success team that exclusively works with municipalities and civic organizations. So essentially, they would be doing any training and onboarding of any staff member who wants to use the platform and the data. Let's say 6 months in the contract, there's a new staff member at the town. We can do a training for them ongoing. And then after that initial training period, it becomes sort of ongoing sessions where we meet usually bi-weekly or monthly. We connect and we chat about what are some initiatives, projects, goals. How can we help you achieve that? Are you confident in kind of navigating everything? How can we help?
That's helpful to know. Thank you.
Now,
Absolutely.
I'm kind of old school. Now, when this comes down to whether we use this service or not, will they be a personal representative come in here face to face with us?
No, so we are actually, our employees are all over the entire US. And the reason for that being is we sort of got up and running for our US division during COVID and then sort of never really established a central office. But yeah, it's entirely web-based. All of the sessions are over Zoom. We find that to be the easiest too, because you can sort of follow along on your own screen while we're screen sharing with you. So if there's any questions or maybe you're having trouble navigating it, you can essentially just mirror what we're doing directly from that Zoom screen share. And it makes things really kind of streamlined and easy. That way we're also able to record those sessions. We can share them with staff members. And then if you ever want to watch back one of the sessions that we have with you, you can feel confident that you can just mirror exactly what we did and do it the same way.
Right. I'm kind of old school. That's why I mentioned that. I like to do business face to face with people.
I would love to come in here and be face to face with you guys today. Trust me.
Lots of good information, Nick. Thank you. Not to put you on the spot, but to put you on the spot, what are the three main primary reasons why a town such as us would utilize this and see value in this?
Yeah, absolutely. Great question. So I would say first and foremost, we work with everyone and anyone involved with economic development. So that could be anything from recruiting businesses, understanding workforce trends, understanding leveraging that for big and small employers, for small businesses, for their Main Street community. I think that's number one. That's the big one. Number two would be Parks and Rec. So leveraging Placer data for things like understanding what segments or parts of a community is a park serving, leveraging Placer data for grants. I mean, we hear stories of within weeks to months of a town or city starting a Placer, they can win a competitive grant because they're competing with cities that are not using our data to show what a certain park or who a certain park is serving. And Placer is able to pay for itself multiple times over with just one single grant being won. So that's a very clear-cut way to achieve a return on investment. Obviously, much more in the park space. I'd say number three is that comes to mind. I think there's a couple others that play into this, but one that comes to mind here is any municipality that are doing events. So understanding, event attendees, leveraging Placer for things like sponsorships, understanding what sponsors could be a good fit for that event. Not only identifying what sponsors could be a good fit, but actually showcasing to sponsors, hey, if you sponsor our event, here's the sort of impact it would have on your business. Here's the amount of eyes you get on your advertisement. Here are the kinds of visitors that have been to this event previously, and here's how they overlap with visitors to your business. So we're able to, actually bring some data to the table for those conversations. Those are the three that jump out to me immediately. There's kind of a whole bunch more. I'd say every municipality uses it slightly differently, but hopefully that gives you a little bit of a sense.
Hey, Chris, you got anything more? Or?
No, I'm good. Thank you.
What is the cost of this project?
Yeah, so happy to share some pricing here. So we price based on population. Fortville essentially with the population of Fortville, you guys would be sitting essentially on our lowest bracket of pricing. So that our typical contract duration is 24 months. We can go as far out as 36 months. The minimum is 12, so 1 year. At a 24-month standard contract duration, we'd be looking at $12,000 in the first year and $14,000 in the second, and that would provide access for all town staff members.
That's helpful to know. I think the other thing, if you could, you went through a number of entities in Indiana that are already using your platform. I think it'd be helpful to see any of the entities in Indiana around our population. Let's just say, I don't know, 10,000 or less. It'd be nice to see a list of how many of those entities are out there for us. If you could kind of maybe filter through that list and send that off to Adam or Tanya, whoever else you've been dealing with.
Absolutely. I would say just gut feeling. We probably have, I would say, over 300 towns and cities across the US that have under 10,000 population.
That's fine. It'd just be helpful to know who else in Indiana our size might be utilizing you all already.
Certainly. Happy to do that.
Well, this was a nice way to end our meeting today.
Yeah, hopefully you guys learned something new and saw some cool data. So happy to be on the ending note. And thank you all for your time.
Appreciate it so much.
Yeah, thanks, Nick.
Thanks, Nick, and we're gonna jump into the end of our meeting here now. All right.
Thank you.
Adam, Joe, staff comment?
I don't have anything, but I would like to pass the balance of my time to Mr. Joe Renner.
Joe will make the mo-
I'm not getting more money. Joe Renner, Town Manager. I'm here tonight to, well, first of all, I think there's a little bit of a confusion because I didn't know that somebody else was working on the landscape plan until I heard Matt bring it up tonight. Sounds like with the Main Street organization, there's several people trying to organize stuff because I'm actually working with another group to do the same thing. So it's interesting. And also, if you remember at the last meeting that I came up here and told you that the town council was looking to do a BOT for the landmark park for the redesign, which is going to include landscaping, bridge, trails, and some of that work up there as well. At the last council meeting, the town council voted to take the recommendation from the committee to make Reynolds the contractor for the BOT. In 2 weeks, we'll have the public hearing. And then the council, if they choose to continue, will have a resolution to go ahead and select them to do the project. If you'll remember, I think we were talking about roughly a $2 million project. I've talked with Buzz a little bit about that. He's thinking rather than the RDC fund it all up front, you know, and again, there was like 3 phases to this, so that is like worst case for the scope that is laid out currently. So in talking with the CPA, he's recommending possibly half of it funded, and then maybe when the South Madison Boulevard bond comes on, go ahead and include a little bit more in that, so we don't have multiple bonds out. So that was his recommendation. So I just want to let you know that that's still in the works, and council has voted to move forward with that, so it's still going.
Are you talking about the landmark park?
Yeah, and we're going to take care of that ditch.
Well, I know. Another thing I've heard a few comments about is the stage. Making this stage a permanent platform out there, but making it a movable stage so it can be moved to Main Street and places like that when we have activity.
That was something that was proposed early on, and it was kind of shot down. What's being proposed now is rather than putting like a big stage, solid stage out there, taking down the old gazebo and putting up a 30-foot gazebo. So it could still be used for weddings or, you know, family picnics or whatever, but then it could also be used for live music in the park, and they'll have a place to set up for that.
So, Joe, I think you mentioned, Buzz said that the South Madison bond issue, is it coming due or is it up to be, I guess I wanted to make sure how this all fit into that.
The South Madison bond, that's something that I know the developer, and I know Adam's been dealing back and forth with them as well. Still trying to get, let's see what we got the LOI done for the housing portion of it, for the apartments.
Okay.
The other portion is in the works.
So we would combine that with this, so we'd only have one bond issue is what I'm hearing.
Correct.
Thank you.
Whether it be, you know, the full amount or
Right.
whether it be just part of it. Buzz suggested maybe doing a ban
Yeah,
so we can get rolling on it.
Yeah, I think the more we can combine them into one, it's less
Yeah.
professional fees and a lot of other things. You break it in two, it's gonna end up costing you more money. And if you do it, it's the same work.
Right.
If the deal's, you know, $2 million or $3 million. So I'd rather see it all in one if we could.
Okay.
And a ban is relatively inexpensive. Bond anticipation note's relatively inexpensive.
Okay. And then again, kind of going off of what Matt was talking about as far as the Broadway project, that project, it is a state road and it's still under control of the contractor. It has not been completed and turned
Got
over
it.
yet. So I don't know that we could touch anything on that. We could do a plan possibly, but we wouldn't be able to do anything until project's done, turned over to NDOT, and then we have to apply for permits to do anything
Got
that's going to go out there.
So it sounds.
It may be postponed a little bit. Yeah. Yeah.
Good to know, so we're not spending real, and so I'm gonna be able to do it right
Yeah.
away.
And I will let you know too, because, you know, the RDC helped fund part of the matching grant and everything for the Stellar and the funding we got for the Broadway, which helped pay for all the decorative lighting and everything
Yeah.
that's done through there. Those, 2 of the lights have been hit. They've been laying out there for a long time. Supposedly they've got one, it's in stock, they're waiting on the other one. When we worked with the contractor to design the trails, we had them do all the lights the same. So we standardized them. So we're gonna go ahead and purchase 2 lamp posts, have them here because they will get hit again and we're not gonna be waiting for 8 months to get new lights. That's right. But that's all I have unless you have anything for me. Nope. All right, thank you.
Ceded your time to Mr. Renner, correct? Okay. Any board comments? Had quite a few throughout the meeting, so I think we've worn out our comments. Motion to adjourn.
Make a motion to adjourn at 8:05.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Thanks, everybody. Thanks, Alec.
Have a good night.
Thank you.